Hello my friends, and welcome to another Battlefield 6 video. This time around, I want to talk about XP. Most notably, the XP when it comes to leveling your weapons, because this is something that has been very controversial. It's had a lot of people talking about it, and unfortunately, while a lot of people have been talking about it, I don't think a lot of people have actually done the necessary research and got the important stats as to why things can feel the way they are, and also why things need to change. Because there's a lot of people that have been saying, and rightfully so to be totally honest with you, that double XP weekends often feel like what the XP rates should be normally when it comes to gaining weapon XP. And leveling your weapons takes way too long, especially when they decided to lock all of the attachments behind getting weapons to roughly level 40. And considering level 40 requires you to get around 700 to 800 kills, that's going to take a lot of players a long time. And it heavily discourages people from switching it up and using different weapons, because if they do, they're going to have to spend so long leveling those guns. But the question has to be asked, why does it take so long to level weapons in terms of the actual mechanics behind that? And that's what I set off to do today with information that I was already pretty sure was the case, but I wanted to manually test it anyway. So keep in mind that every single thing that I'm going to be telling you in this video was manually tested by myself, and I can 100% confirm these things to be the case. If you're curious of my method, basically what I would do is I would hop into a game, do one of these actions, and then play out the rest of the game until I got to the end screen to check how much XP I had gotten. Anyways, in terms of things that do grant you XP for your weapon, well, there aren't very many of them. And there are some that I could have potentially missed, so if there are, feel free to let me know in the comments. The things that I found that would grant you weapon XP are kills, assists, and most notably, multi-kills, which will give you some extra experience. So if you get a double kill or a triple kill, it'll give you, I believe, roughly 40 extra XP per kill. And keep in mind, this is taking into consideration the 20% XP boost that you get for owning Battlefield 6. But regardless, there were two things that I couldn't all but confirm to be the case, but I think might be, and the first is that I believe that dealing damage just in general with the weapon in question can grant you experience, even if you don't get an assist, or maybe if you get an assist way down the line and it doesn't even show up on your screen because it's been so long, as well as the idea of suppression assists, which I'm not entirely sure if they do or don't grant XP, considering the fact that trying to get a suppression assist proved way more difficult than I thought and felt like a waste of time after a while. I just couldn't get suppression itself to pop, never mind get a suppress and then have someone kill the enemy. The mechanic of getting the suppression points is really whacked out right now, and even if you're suppressing people, a lot of the time you just don't get the points for it. Not sure why. Anyways, a lot of that stuff is probably to be expected. What's more important is the stuff that doesn't grant XP, and these are the things that really start to make you scratch your head, and this is why not only do I think that the weapon leveling can take so long, but also why the system itself is so extremely flawed. First of all, and probably the most important thing on this list, is that capturing or playing the objective does not grant you any weapon experience whatsoever. So if you capture a flag, detonate a bomb, do any of that stuff, no XP. Headshots do not grant you any experience. Spotting enemies as well as getting spot assists will not grant you any experience for your weapon. Long shots or otherwise shooting people from far away over roughly, I believe it's 70 meters, no extra XP. Reviving teammates won't give you any XP. Healing and resupplying teammates won't give you any XP, and destroying enemy gadgets will not grant any weapon experience. So I wanted to knock those out as fast as I can so I could list them all off on the screen, but let's talk about some of these and why they don't make any sense. First of all, and most importantly, like I said, capturing objectives. Isn't this supposed to be an objective-based game? Doesn't PTFO mean a lot in Battlefield? Well, then why the hell does capturing objectives and playing the objective not give you anything towards your weapon XP? It's so ass backwards that this is the case, and it further incentivizes you to not play the objective and or play game modes where you're not going to have to interact with objectives all that much and you're just playing for kills. One of my big frustration factors right now, as a lot of you know, I'm trying to master every gun in the game, and I'm relatively close at this point. I've only probably got around 7 guns left. That said, during double XP weekends and such, even though I have limited time, I try my best to spend that time wisely. And usually what that ends up doing is forcing me into King of the Hill on 1 to 2 maps, because that's the place where it's the biggest meat grinder and I can get the most kills. kills. Since the objective doesn't matter, I'm usually somewhere off the objective, and while I'm definitely helping to win the match by stopping people from getting there, I could be playing the objective a lot harder if it incentivized me to do so, but it doesn't. And it also circles back to why some people seem to feel like the weapon leveling takes way longer than others. And that's really obvious. And it's because if kills are all that matters, and you're not getting very many kills, the weapon leveling in this game is going to take you an eternity. I would consider myself a relatively above average player. If I play a game like King of the Hill with a halfway decent gun, I can knock out 40 to 50 kills in a round that's only 11 minutes long. But that's for me. If there's some battle dad out there that gets maybe 5 to 10 kills in a 27-minute game of Conquest, well, needless to say, they're never going to be leveling up their guns. They're gonna be at like level 10 by the time I'm at level 45. And while obviously you should be rewarded for playing well, if that person in question is playing well, they're helping their team, they're resupplying, they're reviving, they're capturing objectives, they're getting directly punished compared to me. That makes no sense. But on that front, when it comes to talking about different game modes and how King of the Hill, in my opinion, is hands down the best place to level your weapon, the fact is that this game, objectively speaking, punishes you if you're leveling your weapons depending on what game mode you play. And no more is that more clear than the Battle Royale and Gauntlet game modes. I have no idea if this was on purpose as a malicious choice from DICE in order to try to make people buy the game, or if it was just such a crazy oversight that, like, I'm baffled to even assume that this was the case. But now that I'm thinking about it more, and I know I'm probably gonna get flack for this, I genuinely don't believe that it was a malicious choice. And the reason I say that is because game modes like Strike Point exist. But my point is that all of the game modes in this game give you the exact same XP regardless of how long those game modes will last and how many kills you'll get in those game modes. So if you have a really good BR game and you kill 7 or 8 people, which all things considered, if you're killing 8 people by yourself in BR, that's not bad at all. But the game certainly sees it that way, because if you get 8 kills in King of the Hill, it's the same as getting 8 kills in BR, something that's way harder. I mean, for God's sakes, there's a dog tag in the game for getting 20 kills in BR. It's supposed to be a large achievement, and yet someone can hop into Conquest and get 20 kills and get just as much XP? How does that make any sense? I, for one, love Gauntlet. I think it's a really fun game mode, but every time I'm playing it right now, it feels terrible because my weapon XP is gimped in half because it's so much harder to get kills because of armor and just the general vibes of how you have to play the objectives so you can't run around going for kills all the time. It shouldn't be that way. You should get more XP in different game modes, but you don't. It's all the same. And listen, I know what some people are going to say when it comes to things like reviving or healing. They're going to say, well, how can the developers be expected to track which weapons you get XP with when you pull out your defibs to revive? Should it just give your XP to both of your guns, your primary and your secondary? Should it just be the last one you picked out? And my answer to that question would be, why are we making excuses for the best-selling shooter game of the year? There's no universe where there can't be something figured out here to make this work. There's so many people that excuse a lot of this garbage just because, I don't know, they can, without realizing the amount of resources that they have over at EA and DICE. There's zero reason why some system can't exist to grant you weapon XP when you revive, heal, capture an objective. You get the idea. But there is one other thing that's fatally wrong in the current state of Battlefield 6's weapon XP system that I had to talk about, and I haven't seen really anyone, I don't think, talk about up until this point, and I'm shocked as to why. I have no idea how this hasn't happened yet. And that issue is the fact that the weapon XP requirements to level up weapons from level 1 to level 50 is the exact same across every single weapon category. Now let me be clear, that's not necessarily a problem for something like an assault rifle, a submachine gun, or an LMG. But hoo boy, does that become a problem when we start looking at the fucking pistols. Now, I've already talked about the pistols in my pistols tier list, so if you've seen that video, you already know how I feel about these things. But to give a quick recap, the pistols in this game are horrendous. They absolutely suck. As of current, I have all of the pistols at level 50, and let me tell you, it was an exercise in frustration, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. And a lot of that stems from the fact that it takes fucking forever because some psychopath made it so that way you need like 1,200 kills with the pistols in order to get max level. Dice, you can't design the pistols specifically to be worse than primary weapons and then require the same amount of kills. That doesn't make any sense. If you wanted to master any of the secondaries without just directly running around using them in a small scale game mode, it's gonna take you years to get them to max level. That's ridiculous. Now granted, I was upfront in the pistol video, and I'll be upfront here, that a lot of my pistol kills ended up coming from the casual breakthrough mode because I just could not be bothered to exclusively nerf myself trying to play against real opponents. And I was also very careful to make sure that the only times that I was running pistols was during double XP weekends with an XP booster stacked on top of that, so that way I would get 3 times XP and would have to use the pistols as little as humanly possible. But the fact that I even had to jump through all of those hoops in order to get even close to mastering all of these pieces of shit just exposes the problem. If I need 1,200 kills with a primary, why the fuck do I need 1,200 kills with a secondary to max it out? You gotta make up your damn mind. Either make the pistols worth a damn, or make it so that way it doesn't cost a ridiculous amount of XP to level them up. Not that it ends up mattering for most players anyway, since the pistols are so bad and the attachments are so worthless, and you can't even put on any attachments half the time regardless, because they made it so that way the pistols have no attachment points. Go figure. But it isn't just the pistols that suffer from this. The sniper rifles have pretty much the exact same problem. Just like with the pistols, I've already talked about the sniper rifles in their own respective tier list video. But at the end of the day, if you're running a sniper rifle, you're probably going to get less kills than someone using a normal gun. The vast majority of the time, that's going to be the case. So much of using sniper rifles not only relies on your own aim, but also just the general movement patterns of the enemy team. If you're playing against an enemy team that has snipers that stand still and people that go to objectives and crouch in corners, you're probably gonna get a bunch of kills. If you don't, and people are running around like crackheads and every single sniper is AD strafing, you're not gonna get very many kills. And the thing is that if you're using a normal primary, a lot of that stuff can get offset. But with a sniper rifle, it gets emphasized heavily. And so just like I was saying earlier, I end up being the battle dad who gets like maybe 25 kills in a 27-minute match because I'm running a friggin' sniper rifle. And guess what? If I want to max out the sniper rifles, I need the same amount of kills as a submachine gun. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. In case it wasn't clear, a lot of this frustration comes from mastering both all of the pistols and all of the sniper rifles. And no one else should have to go through what I did. And for God's sakes, if what it comes down to is if you want to level up your pistols by just pulling out the pistol right before you capture an objective every single time, and it takes you like 3 months to do it that way, you should be able to do it that way. You shouldn't have to force yourself to either play against bots or shove yourself up against opposition that's going to crush you over and over again because you're using a piece of shit weapon that is not designed to be used in full frontal confrontations. So what do I think should be done? Well, I think it's pretty obvious at this point. The weapon XP in this game needs to give you XP for capturing objectives. It should give you extra XP for getting headshots. It should give you extra XP for getting long shots. If you spot an enemy and you get XP, it should give XP for your gun. And if somebody dies and you get a spot assist, XP for the gun. Reviving teammates, healing teammates, resupplying teammates, and destroying gadgets should all give XP to whatever weapon you had last equipped. The XP requirements for each individual gun should be different depending on the weapon class. So no pistol should require the same amount of XP to level up that a primary weapon does. And lastly, your XP should be buffed depending on the game mode you're playing. At the very least for some specific game modes like Gauntlet, Strike Point, and Battle Royale. The game should not be punishing you for playing game modes where you can't get as many kills. That makes no sense. It doesn't feel like rocket science, but it seems like it is to the people over there that are developing this game right now. And while I know that I often come on here and say a lot of negative things, this is my opportunity to say something that I feel like I need to almost start saying in every single video, and that's that I still really enjoy playing this game. A lot of these videos come out and I end up getting a lot of flack for just being a hater. And listen, I get it. There's a lot of negative videos on this channel, so I can see where that comes from. But I always try to make sure that being a hater here comes with direct evidence and backing of what I'm saying. This isn't like I'm just coming on here and not doing any sort of background checks on what things do and just going, well, I think this is the case, so they should change it. No, this is exactly how it works and why it's a problem and why they should change it. At the end of the day, if I hated the game, then I wouldn't play over 600 hours of it up until this point, and I wouldn't continue making these videos about the game. It's lots of fun, and there's a lot of things that I like about it. Unfortunately, there's also a lot of things that I don't like about it, and those things that I don't like are the things that I'm generally going to be talking about, because if I don't talk about them, then the likelihood of them getting changed decreases dramatically. But regardless of that, let me know what you think about the current weapon experience system in Battlefield 6. I highly doubt we're gonna find anyone down there that's gonna be like, I think it's fantastic. So because of that, I'd like to see what you generally think should be changed about the system, rather than whether you think it's good or bad, because, well, that's pretty obvious here. Anyways, with that, I am wrapping up. So naturally, if you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't, don't. And with all that being said, have a wonderful day and night wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time.